Hi, hello everyone, and welcome to our panel, which is titled We Know Each Other by Our Wounds. And if you've read the description, you will know that we are presenting creative work around the topic of gender and gender identity. So I'm Jude Marr, and I'm here with my friends and colleagues, Lannie Stabile and Sarah Crowson and Elisabeth Horan. As it happens, we all kind of know each other, so that's nice and friendly. I'm going to do proper biographies for everyone as we get to everyone in turn. But I'm going to go first because that seems like a nice transition. And so I'm not going to read my own bio. I'm not even going to get anyone else to read it. But I thought that I would use it as a way of kind of presenting a little bit of information about myself in the form of, I guess it's a kind of a manifesto in lieu of a first poem. It's not really a poem, but I guess it could be. And it's to do with my relationship, my personal relationship with gender and gender identity. And then I'll read some poems and then we'll move on to the next person. The only other thing that I would say, following on from the introduction there, is that I personally have no problem at all with anyone getting in touch with me either on my website or on Twitter. The others can, decide how they feel about that. But if anyone has questions, or, if there's something that in an in-person session you would stick your hand up and ask about, then please feel free. And that information, that contact information is in my bio, which is on the website, which you can check out. And one last thing is that if you're wondering about the title of the panel, it's also, it's a good, it describes what we're talking about, but also it's the title of my full-length collection that came out in 2020, which is, along with all of the books, available in the on the website bookstore, which is very cool. And, please feel free to check that out. Okay, so here's my bio intro. So I'm a non-binary person who happens to be a poet. I will just mention that I have lived in both the US and the UK, because you may think, oh, this is a UK person, which is true. I have now moved back to the UK, but I think my work probably sounds like I'm a US poet. I kind of think of myself that way because virtually all of my poetry was written in the US, and I'm trying to keep a foot firmly planted on both sides of the Atlantic, which is, if you picture that, a little uncomfortable, but I try. Okay, you will notice from down below there that I use they, them pronouns. Some people say preferred pronouns, but actually I just say these are my pronouns, so get over it. No, because that sounds very confrontational, and I try not to be that. Excuse me. I also I changed my name quite a long time ago now, but part of the reason for doing that, not the whole reason, but part of it was because I wanted to choose an ungendered first name. So, I get all kinds of interesting responses to that, especially people who haven't met me or heard me. But even when they have, sometimes, they're so confused, which is fine by me. I'm cool with that. And then finally, people don't quite believe me when I say this, but actually it is true. This is how strongly I feel about some of the discomfort that went with being non-binary in earlier parts of my life. I actually value my doctorate most of all because it gives me an ungendered title that I can use. And I use it all the time, even outside of academia, for that reason. And it is such a relief. I can't tell you. Okay, so who am I? I am who I have always been, someone who does not identify as either female or male. I can speak only for myself and my own experience. I'm a privileged, white, non-binary person living in industrialized Western society under late-stage capitalism at the butt end of the Anthropocene. And I speak only for myself. I live inside a body that doesn't belong with me. I was assigned female at birth, with the body that looks and acts accordingly. It gets treated accordingly, the body does, which is horrifying and what makes me a committed feminist. But I know that at some deeper level, I am not that person that people see. This is not in my mind, it's not a choice. We are, of course, all products of both nature and nurture and of our lived experience, but we also know collectively a lot more these days about how gender works, including at the chromosomal level. This is not, I mean, not my field of expertise, but there's a ton of information out there. If you'd like to know more, I've got at least one link I can give you. But basically what I want to say is, to misquote the great Maya Angelou, when someone tells you who they are, believe them, please. Okay, I have cross-dressed since I was a preteen, although not consistently for all of that time, because I always didn't have a choice. It wasn't always up to me. And even as an adult, I didn't always feel like it was up to me. But I certainly do it now. I do it partly to counterbalance the perceptions and expectations of the body. And of course, to be comfortable with myself. I don't do it, as some people assume, to conform to so-called gender norms and expectations of masculinity. It's just like a counterbalance. Masculinity, which, by the way, also sucks. And I see the damage that gender norms do to most everybody. So my position would be, let's just be people in an ideal world. Gender is, of course, both personal and political. I say I am non-binary, and also that I am genderless. I can be that person in my work, in the spaces I create on the page, in my thinking about bodies and spaces generally. I can try to be that person out in the world. And I can try to always remember that whatever my struggles, others struggle more. Okay, I'm going to read some poems now. This first one, so the first three of these are from the aforementioned book. I have, a couple of books and a whole bunch of things published in magazines and stuff, and you can look that up. It's all on my website. But the first three are in the book, and the other two are, I've got 5 altogether. The other 2 are not in the book, but maybe in another book one of these days. And so this first one, and actually the first 3 kind of, the first one is about family and childhood, I guess. The second 2 are about dressing and the external. So this one also, in case you have to put your hands over somebody's ears, there is a curse word in this one towards the end. And it's called family values. Marriage is an institution for the insane. It's a very old joke. From disorder comes cohabitation, procreation, psychic pain. Siblings will be killers, C.F. Cain. Brother traitor, sister slap, and daddy's little girl grows up insomniac. Mothers and their sons flirt with neurosis, Sigmund says, while scissors sisters, young at heart, another old joke, sorry, young at heart, weird out on blasted heath until collectively they cut, slash, pussycat, and bleed and stain. Water dissolves blood. Forget-me-nots are blue, not pink. Water me. Let me think. I'm back in therapy. My shrink thinks empathy's a cure for dread, but I know both are bound to be, C.F. de Beauvoir, now that every god is dead. Relatively speaking, I am matter's child, and matter still. Keep my fucking family. Keep your binaries. I am me, not a theory, not a girl. Okay. Thank you. This one is called Dysmorphia in Drag. I don't actually like the word dysmorphia because it definitely implies a disorder of some kind. but it is the word we use to suggest, well, to describe that disassociation between the body and the person. Okay, dysmorphia in drag. Magenta silk, lolling around a fettered wrist, pearls dripping from a purple throat, a cloak, satin-lined, slashed and stained with lady blood. Okay, overstated, but puberty in strangers' clothes that never fit twisted me, and still I stayed dramatic. Suited but underwired, skirted and grim, having been sewn in scarecrow style, or vacuum packed by friends and family, those other F words, working for the state, us, quo. Okay, overstated, but I stayed stripped of authenticity, grease smeared across cheeks, powder clogged until ready to perform. I am not ready. I am not body. Ready or not, body or not, naked or man dressed, spotlit, I edge towards center stage, feathers and spangles gone, wrong fleshed, smile still sewn on, unsuited for overture or swan song. Rapidly approaching the swan song these days. Here we go. Okay. Oh, no, I tell a lie. This one is not in the book. Plucked while running through woods. Feather chest snagged, feathers hanging, shaken, collarbone, feathered pink. Bird hands feathered, rough but ruddy at the root, desperate not to shake. Thorn plumage, horn plumage, torn plumage hanging, ragged as a game bird from a butcher's hook, glimpsed through bifurcated wings, a universe. I am bird, featherless, no caged breast, no nether bone. I am plucked bird, flushed from cover, fearless, transformation, seen and done. Okay. Now then, this one's in the book. So moving on now to something that goes a bit deeper than the external trappings. And this one's called Tattered Labels. I stand at an intersection, spinning in place. I am stuck in spin cycle, not droning, not drilling down. I'm attracting a crowd. Did I mention that I'm naked? But this is not another naked dream poem. I'm shedding his, her stories. I am bare, I am thread. My ribbon skin untwisting becomes a tangled mess. Bones clatter, articulated arms dance, flies buzz my spinning head. My fluids are centrifugal. The crowd steps back, repelled. Witnesses resist contamination. Specters cross my intersection. I am north, not south, I say. I am east, not west. Still my sinews mimic tattered labels. I am bloodless, unsexed. Ghost mist hides all my topographies. I am unmade. I am they, and not yet dead. Okay, one last one, and then we will move on. And this is a brand new poem. It's called Space and the Body, Fragments from an Imagined Museum. I've been writing some weird shit recently. Sorry, another curse word there. And this is part, so this is some weird shit. This building appears known, a space that is body, my brain, but infinity. Someone has daubed an intervention on the bathroom wall. Space should not talk, to not think is ecstatic. What wall is appropriate for my art? Make words angry, Teenage painted a sign space dispute. People as noisy signs. Imagine noise, more image than matter. Small, different wants. Head games, free floating, touching outside the heart. To be old in the museum. Play death as an installation. Space alone changes. Space, when connected, is always burnished, not space, bodies. This body looks metal. Fingers don't find comfortable spaces. The body is inside me. I am myself, a habitable space, genderless. Inhabit or exist. Museum and afraid connect. Exhibit limits, petty, to elevator words and bathroom walls. Okay, thank you. Right, so moving swiftly on, our next reader is Lannie Stabile. And Lannie is a queer Detroiter, the winner of Outright's 2022 chapbook competition in poetry and a back-to-back semi-finalist for the Button Poetry Chapbook Contest. Lannie was also named a 2020 Best of the Net finalist. Her debut poetry full-length, Good Morning to Everyone Except Men Who Name Their Dog Zeus, which is a fabulous title and a fabulous book, highly recommended, was published in 2021 by Stifle Press. In 2022, look out for Lannie's fiction debut, Something Dead in Everything, which I think we're going to hear from tonight. Excellent. Take it away. Oh, that's from ELJ edition, sorry. Take it away, Lannie.
Thanks, Jude. Great reading. Love those poems. And thank you for inviting me to this whole shindig. I always love reconnecting with you guys. So yes, I am reading from Something Dead in Everything, my debut fiction collection. I'm primarily a poet and decided one day, hey, I want to write some fiction. And I did. And I wrote a whole book of it. And I'm really excited. I'm going to read two pieces. One is about a hamster who is being pigeonholed into a gender role, and because of that is experiencing postpartum depression. And another piece I'll be reading is about a queer ghost who is stuck in the bathroom where she died and kind of listening to one of the people that live there being abused by her husband. So it's just like gender roles are really getting us in trouble here. So I'm going to start with a little ghost story. This is called Dreamers with Empty Hands. When she is in the shower, I turn away. That's a rule of mine. Looking would be an invasion of privacy, even for two women trapped in such a small room, practically Antsville. But sometimes I can hear her sigh over the molten stream, steam curling over the tempered glass doors like the tail of a ghost. Once the plush cotton towel is wrapped tightly around her chest, I watch her. I watch her prod at the purple bags beneath her eyes, apply a dab of white cream. I watch her rake her fingers through damp, tousled hair, dry it impatiently with a second towel. I watch her squeeze a pink pimple tucked into that tight space between her nostril and her cheek, a line of ooze appearing. I remember poking at the same difficult spot in this very bathroom, thinking I wasn't good enough, like I know she's also thinking. I hate seeing her unhappy, hate watching her pick at her imperfections. I wish I could tell her she's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen, Donna, Catherine, and Jane combined. A few months ago, I focused all night until my finger, which is usually wispy and translucent, was soft and fleshy. And in the morning before she woke for her daily shower, I wrote, "Good morning, gorgeous," in a delicate scrawl on the mirror. When she smiled and flushed, I nearly died again. But she assumed it was her husband, and this hurt me more than the ceramic edge of a tub ever did. I've gotten to know him too by watching, but I don't turn away when he's in the shower. He doesn't deserve the courtesy. And it's not because he pees in the tub, a gross golden whirlpool disappearing down the drain. It's not because he sticks a finger in his nose and flicks his findings in the rose gold trash can next to the toilet. It's not even because he hums Frank Sinatra songs when he's brushing his teeth, like my Eddie used to do. It's because the walls are thin and I've heard what he says to her. Eddie used to belittle me like that too. He used to whittle me down to nothing but tears. Used to say, "Susie, this roast is tough as shoe leather." Used to ask me, "What the hell have you been doing all day? This house is a mess." When he talks to her like that, I know she makes a brave face and then excuses herself to hide in the can. She thinks it's safe in here, like I did. When she's crying, I wish I could touch her. I wish I could reach out and rest my hand on her shoulder, give it an empathetic squeeze, show her someone's listening, someone cares, even if it's some lost soul with a permanent beehive congealed with blood. But corporalization takes so much time and energy. It would probably take me days to materialize an entire hand for her to feel. And if I did, she would really flip her lid, wouldn't she? That's the last thing I want to do. So I remain unfocused, unseen, a trick of the harsh fluorescent light. He's yelling again. This time it's about a shrunken pair of socks. I wish she'd tell him to get bent, like I used to tell Eddie. But I don't want her to get hurt. Men can be dangerous after all. Speaking of, doesn't he know the most dangerous room in the house is the bathroom? Slips and falls happen all the time. I'd focus for a lifetime if I had to. If only I could wrap my hands around his neck, press my thumbs into that delicate apple bobbing around his throat. It's quieter now. He must have gone into the living room. If I strain, I can sometimes hear the murmur of the television, but I've never been able to determine what he's watching, so I just pictured Johnny Carson, a favorite of Eddie's. It fuels the hate just a little bit more. The door is opening. She's been crying, of course. I reach out to comfort her, but my fingertips slip right through her wet cheek. I tear up in frustration. As she starts to undress, I look away, press myself into the corner. Not that she would ever notice me. When the shower comes on, I hear her cry in earnest, great gulping sobs, and the scene is all too familiar. I've made up my mind. I have to at least try for her. Starting tonight, I'll focus harder than I've ever focused before. A finger, a hand, a push, a fall. So I forgot to mention that Something Dead in Everything, this collection of short fiction, is it tackles grief and the intricacies of grief, the intimacies of grief, and the strangeness of it. So every piece in here is about grief in some way, even if it's not like grieving a person or it's grieving a thing, grieving something you used to have, right? So the second and last piece, because these are longer than poems typically, is Muriel versus the Hunger, a crowd favorite, an author favorite. This is my favorite book, our favorite story in the book. Muriel versus the hunger. Like many new mothers, Muriel the hamster was stressed out. It had been a week since she'd given birth to a litter of 24 brand new pink pups, and she was absolutely wrung out. Literally, all those damn babies wanted to do was nurse. Half of them would suckle for a bit, then the other half would want their chance. By the time they had their fill, the first half was hungry again. She wasn't sure she could produce a single drop of milk more. It wasn't just exhaustion. Muriel was showing signs of physical wear and tear, too. Her golden fur, which in her younger days had been the talk of the pet shop, was falling out in large tufts, and her appetite had dwindled to practically nothing. By the time the pups were done draining her, she didn't have enough energy to nibble a grape. Even the delightful pinch of sunflower seeds the boy would sporadically deposit into the cage did little to pique her interest. The average litter of a hamster her age was 7. 7. Muriel supposed she should feel blessed. Some female hamsters spend their entire lives trying to conceive. Some would kill for the opportunity, and here she was complaining about it. Her best friend Judith, who was a chubby dwarf hamster and lived in the girls' room across the hall, boasted an easy transition into motherhood. It gets better, Judith had promised when Muriel confided in her. Trust me, you'll miss these days. But Judith had only had 3 pups, and the girl had removed the no-good father during pregnancy to avoid any domestic disputes. So who was she to give advice? 24, Muriel thought, and reminded herself that her best friend was full of shit. What Muriel didn't tell Judith was how once the boy had snuck a piece of cherry pie into his room after dinner. He had let Muriel perch on his shoulder as he poked a finger into the pie's warm, gooey center and held the filling up to her nose. At first, she just sniffed, curious. Then she stuck her tongue out experimentally, as if the boy's pinky were a new salt lick rock. It was sweet and delicious, and Muriel had wanted more. But unlike the girl across the hall who shared everything with fat Judith, the boy was greedy and finished the pie in 3 quick bites. What Muriel also didn't tell Judith was how recently the vibrant pink of the pup's flesh started resembling cherry pie filling. Night was falling, and her husband John was just beginning to stir beneath the wood chips. He stretched and yawned wide, revealing large incisors and a long orange tongue. Muriel told herself she wasn't going to fight today, but John looked so sleepy-eyed and relaxed that it irked her beyond belief. Look who's decided to wake up. The drowsy hamster blinked and yawned again, rubbing at his eyes. Don't start. I really could have used some help today. I am exhausted, she punctuated. John ambled over to the water bottle hanging on the side of the cage and drank from its metal dispenser. What do you want me to do? He asked between licks. You want me to go lay on them? They're not eggs, John. Jesus Christ, I know they're not eggs. Eggs don't keep you up all morning squealing. John did a brief body stretch. Okay, let me go play with them or something. Where is the squirmy little horde? Muriel didn't answer him. Did you carry 24 wiggling peanuts in your uterus for 2.5 weeks, John? Did you push 24 cashews out of your vagina? John held up 2 defensive pink paws. Just calm down, honey. Calm down. I am calm, Muriel screamed, advancing on him. I am calm. Backing up, John didn't see the half-nibbled toilet paper roll, and he stumbled backwards over it. You know, Muriel, most males attack their wives when they're pregnant. I've been a good husband, haven't I? Muriel chomped down on the cardboard roll, flicked her head back, and tossed the roll over her shoulder. It crashed silently into the soft bed of cedar. She answered, no. Not liking the look in her eyes, John squeezed himself into the corner of the cage. He turned around, stuck his nose in an open space, and made himself as small as possible, trying to get away. When that didn't work, he gnawed at the bars, but there was no use. John emitted a staticky scream as Muriel made short work of his soft, furry body. As she finished cleaning the remainder of her husband off her paws and whiskers, Muriel heard a squeak from the other side of the cage. She scurried over, and there, burrowed into a pile of cedar shavings, was a single, fuzzy body. She had decided to keep one, a little boy. Unlike his brothers and sisters, his fur had started to grow in, and when Muriel looked at him, she appreciated how his coat was a mixture of gold, like his mother, and sand, like his father. Muriel was confident she could handle just one. Thank you so much. Again, that's from Something Dead and Everything. It can be picked up off of eljeditions.com. I believe that's it. Google ELJ editions if I got that wrong. It can also be picked up off of bookshop.org, and really any of your independent bookstores should be able to order it. And last resort, it is on Amazon, but I would prefer you not getting it off Amazon. So thank you again, Jude, for inviting me to this. I can't wait to hear the next readers.
Thank you, Lannie. That was fabulous. I also love that story. I have heard it before, but I could always hear it again. Yeah, just amazing. Love it, love it, love it. And thank you for agreeing to do this. Okay, now we are moving on to Elisabeth Horan, my publisher, Elisabeth Horan. Elisabeth Horan is a poet, mother, small press publisher, living in the wilds of Vermont. She is the author of numerous poetry chapbooks and collections, editor-in-chief of Animal Heart Press, published my book, and co-editor at Iceflow Press. Elisabeth is passionate about discovering new voices and mentoring emerging poets. She's also a fierce advocate for those impacted by mental illness. She has an MA in English from SNHU and her MFA in poetry from Lindenwood University. She also teaches English and writing at her local community college. Her latest ekphrastic collection, also fabulous, in honor of Frida Kahlo, is out now at Broken Spine Arts. Okay, over to Elisabeth.
Thank you, Jude. Thank you. It's tough to follow Jude and Lannie. I'm a little bit like that hamster rage. I was really internalizing, and I loved both of your readings so much. Thank you, Jude, for inviting us and putting us all together. And thank you, 1455 Literary Fest, for having us here. You guys have been great to work with, and it's fantastic. So I, thinking about gender, I write a lot about Frida Kahlo, ekphrastically. So I have two collections now. The first is at Stifle, where Lannie has her new one. That came out in 2018. And then I did a second one called The Mask, which is at Broken Spine, as Jude said. I'm going to read two from each. When I think of Frida has always been, a heroine to me, kind of like a sister in pain, and a fellow artist, and a lover, a sister, someone that I look up to so much, like her strength and her refusal to kind of bend to all the norms and the confines that she found herself in the early 1900s in Mexico. I think I'll just read them. You'll see why there's, when you talk about being genderless, I mean, she was trying to be, she had so many dualities. She was bisexual. She was very feminine in some ways. She also was like, I can be a man. I can do all the things you guys can do. Like, don't put me in these boxes. And, and I feel that way a lot too. Like, being stuck in the roles of mother, wife in a small town in Vermont, doesn't work well for me. So I really, like, through her and through her art, try to fight those roles and bend them and try to make my own the best I can. So she's kind of my partner and all that. So here we go. The first one is called, and these are bilingual, so I'll go in and out of Spanish and hopefully you'll just, flow with me, okay? Palomas como yo, doves like me, from 1943. I am a man, I am a woman. Soy homosexual, soy lesbiana. El ímpetu de ti, your motivation, lush wetness, such dreams. Me cansé de los negocios with men, their many parts. Todos ellos piden mucha atención. Yet look at the woman in the fabled twilight. On my arm, on my chest, sitting on my penis. I'm erect, she is stark upright. No tengo duda, no tengo vergüenza. If I am going to be a barren woman with a cheating husband, then I shall make love to my own hag harem. I shall eat her nectar. I shall dance the tango and wax her crescent moon. Y yo seré the instigator, for I am so much woman. Ven y mírame, how I glow, how I effervesce and bloom. Thank you. Started off with a little, fabled woman in the twilight. I like that one. And the painting with that one is like, it's called Flame Flower. And it's just this explosion of reds and oranges and yellows. And it's like, in your face. And so that's what I did with that one. This one's called Para Dolores. Dolores del Rio was a very famous Mexican movie star in the 30s, I believe, 1930s. And Frida had an affair with her and loved her very much. And so this is a love poem for Dolores. Para Dolores, 1939. No somos malas, amora. We are not bad, my love. Touch me, lover. I long to feel your hand touching my neck. Drape my arm between your legs as if a last bastion for ease. I feel the arch of your lithe little foot, delicate as a root, securing itself to my knee. It will not be ripped away, will not succumb to the earth falling away into the mouths of men. They impose their vine of phallic truth, reaching for the sky, strangling the earth, touching nothing of consequence except themselves. Flash of red, flash of evil, according to whom? God, the devil, men, los señores? Well-educated terrorists who would rather let the world bleed from between our thighs rather than consider that I might prefer your touch, your kiss, lithe tongues, which perform the tango each time we enter the forest. Each time we dance, intertwine, chalice to chalice, once touching we are divine. The orgasms will be red. We own nothing. No sublimation. Thank you. So, thank you so much. I love seeing the snaps. I'm like, yay. Thank you guys. This one, so one of the reasons I first started writing about Frida was it helped me deal with a lot of trauma that I endured in the year 2018, where I was very happily pregnant as a 43-year-old, thought I was going to have my rainbow baby, lost the baby, found out I had cervical cancer, had a hysterectomy 6 months later. So it was this fertile to barren slide that I still struggle with. And Frida was never able to have a baby to term because of her injuries from the accident in Mexico City as a young woman. And I think she struggled with that her entire life. I mean, we're so bent on, having a baby makes you a woman, right? Having, it's what we're supposed to do. And when you can't, something feels very wrong. And so I really, leaned on her and her pain and her ability to move on from that and still survive and make art, even though I think it was very devastating for her. So this one delves into that somewhat. It's called For Inhabitants of Mexico City from 1938. If you're curious about the painting from this one, it's very striking, and that's the title of it. If you want to Google it, For Inhabitants of Mexico City. Okay. We have no toes, my nurse and I. beautiful ripe breasts juxtapose the lack of a mother. The masculine square shoulder, the shadow spreads across me. Oye, Judas, puedes darme un poco de espacio? Just because Diego likes you near, sick bastard, thinks it's all so odd and funny, whispers in my ear, ha ha ha, mira mi reina, fíjate mi vida. The men are all here, commanders of the Zócalo. Las mujeres, but figments of the past, meek figurines of future abandonment. To have had a child, to have kept my toes intact, my uterus intact, I would have had to praise the easel of a man. Lied to Jesus at least 30 times. Estuviera sido traidora a la Xochiquetzal, and I would not do this jamás to her. The woman who fed me from her breasts, who removed with knives her own toes as an act of feminine solidarity in 1934. It's just not fair for children to suffer such horrible nightmares, to play with the dust and rocks and sell gum, while the sovereign masculine gods don't lift a child from the earth to soothe her. The female has been rendered useless al medio de este zócalo íntegro, amputated, inert, punctured, flaccid uterus. Thank you. And this is the last one I chose to read. And this one is very much a love poem for Diego. It's based on the painting called Diego y Yo, where she is like this very small person below this big, her famous husband with her foot, from polio, very small. They were very, very loyal to each other, despite a lot of cheating, a lot of, domestic suffering. I would say a lot of domestic emotional abuse that she endured. And I think she always was kind of like, fuck you, I'm your equal. I am as good as you. I am a better artist than you, maybe. And her legacy has continued to surpass his to this day. So go, girl. So this one is called Lo que somos, what we are, 1929 to 1944. Somos la cosa que vuela hacia el sol, quemado, falls charred and broken back to the earth. The thing which evokes the tantalizing jaguar, makes a trap, hides the bone, then eats it himself. Casado es el cazador. So many times I lost you as my lover. So many times the way my heart came out of my body as you went to her side. Las mujeres de tu vida are like food to you. They make you full, they make you strong, so excellent for your health. Look how robust and older. We are the men of jovial pride. I am a man I could have been. I long to be, for I too would have fallen in love with me. Danced with women half my age, felt their lithe arms around my waist, turned their chins to the moonlight to kiss them, to use them. I cannot escape you. Look at how we have become the same thing, this entwining of the arteries. The operation to separate our skulls, our zippered torsos at the seams, must kill us, ancient freak couple, decrepit and broken. My whole stupid life, paloma tuya, volando arriba en el cielo para siempre. Diego Rivera, you were always near the wheelchair. You were my legs, my strength, my heart. And I, your one and only dove. Thank you so much. There it is. Thank you, loves. Thank you, Jude. Thank you again, everybody, Lannie, Sarah. It's awesome to be here. I feel very, very honored to be in this company and to be on this panel and sharing our work on this. Thank you.
It's a delight, as always, to hear you read. It's so powerful and just so amazing. I always love hearing you.
Wow. That feeling is mutual, my dear, and I loved your reading. It was so you had so much drama in it. Like, you didn't just read, you were performing, Jude, and I was like, yay. And same with Lannie. Oh my God, like, such powerful work here tonight.
now we are in for a
Right.
work, because we have Sarah Crowson. And Sarah, I recently discovered, lives really close to where I live. And so we were able to meet up, which is fun. Okay, Sarah Jane's work is inspired by fairy tales, psychogeography, and surrealism. She uses collage to reimagine and subvert traditional narratives, exploring the space between real and imagined. She's an educator at Hereford College of Arts, that's in the UK, and postgraduate researcher at Birmingham City University, investigating ideas of the critical, radical, rural. Sarah Jane's work can be seen in various journals, including Rattle, Waxwing, Sugar House Review, and Iron Horse. She was shortlisted for the Haiku Foundation Touchstone Award in 2020. Over to Sarah.
Thank you so much. I feel hugely honoured to be here. Your poetry's been fantastic. Wow. I'm a collage artist. I'm a visual poet. One of the things I love about collage is it lets us reimagine our worlds. And one of the things I love about erasure poetry is it lets us take old texts and bring them into our own imaginations. Again, sort of working in that space between real and imagined. So what I'm going to do is just show you a quick animation, but I'll talk you through the source material. So the source material is John Ruskin's Sesame and Lilies, which is probably kind of the archetypal kind of like Victorian text that says women should be kind of like little sort of lilies at home. They are domestic goddesses. And it's also political because Ruskin's text was arguing against women being trained to be artists. So what I've done with the animation is I've made an erasure poem. I've tried to take that text, which is all about sort of really archetypal binary things, and make it into a different narrative. Let's hope my screen share works. And unfortunately, it's been disabled. So what I'm going to try and do is get the erasure on my iPad and actually share it that way instead. So you have to tell me if this works. I'll have another go in a minute, but if it doesn't work on the screen, because the problem with erasure, let me have one more go, see if that will work. No, it's been disabled. So let me just try and get this working. Right, so can you see that? Okay, so what I've got is a little tiny deer figure, and they go through various transformations. There's a performative kind of theatre at the back of this, and they change and change throughout a 30-second animation. There we go. So we go from male to female, we go from doe to full antlered deer, we go from crow, and then we go back to deer woman with a little fan, a little scarf. And the text of this, which I call Peonies and Transformations, takes from Ruskin, and it reads, if you give me a minute while this comes up.
Sarah, sorry to interrupt, but our host is saying that you should now be able to share if you want to.
Oh, that would be lovely if I can. I can. That will save. That will. I think hopefully a little bit of a save there, but let me. There we go. I will share it now. Can you see that? Fantastic. And I can read it as it goes now. The household gods love light and stars, the night cold grass painted with vermilion, quiet but infinitely variable. There we go. So that's my tiny space of resistance, if you like, against a way of trying to make new spaces in a very binary world, and show that we can take old narratives. All of this text and these images are taken from very mid 20th century, 19th century, 18th century illustrations from popular novels and the like, and turn them into something different, which perhaps offers us new imaginaries and new hope for a kind of future less binary world.
I love those illustrations, especially the last two with the bird and the, yeah, it's so haunting and so telling. Yeah, I'm glad you got to share it properly. I was worried there for a moment. Okay, I think we still have a few minutes left to us, and we may as well use all of our time. So I was going, this is a little bit of a personal question, I guess, so feel free not to answer, but I'm really interested to know when or if you all remember first being aware of gender, either your own or someone else's, or is there, some particular moment or incident that you can think of when you were very young?
That's a good question, Jude. I'm scrolling back. Sarah, by the way, that was so beautiful. I'm so glad we got to see it, because that was really extraordinary. I don't even know how you start doing something like that. I'm always in such awe of visual, of combined media stuff. It was amazing. I guess for me, my gender roles have just been morphing my whole life. Like, I've been in times where I'm kind of like hyper femme. I want that. I like that. It feels good. I feel pretty. I feel girly. And then sometimes I'm just like, I hate the expectations of my roles. I hate the way I feel in society. For me, I guess it just constantly moves and evolves. And with poetry, since beginning to write poetry, like whatever, now 7 years ago, like I'm so glad, because now I can examine it in a way that before it was just kind of like, this is what you've been dealt. These are the cards you've been dealt, deal with it. And now I have a voice where I can challenge it and be like, no, I don't, I might be a wife and mother, but I don't want to be a wife and mother. And straight and femme and whatever I am. Like, I don't want that box, that gender box. So for me, I guess it's always evolving. And I think poetry helps us. I'm glad it helps us share it, like tonight. It's awesome, to see what everybody's writing about.
Yeah, it's like a conflict, isn't it, between who a person is inside of themselves and who they want to be or who they feel they are, and what the society thinks they ought to be. Right. And it's not like, that stuff is so imposed. It's such a it's such a construct, all of the that added gender role.
It's completely systemic. You just go to the grocery store, there's your gender roles. It's just like every little interaction is shaped by expectations.
And it's not even universal. It's not all times, all places, all cultures, or it's just everybody in this little authoritarian bubble.
I never really thought about it, Jude, but now that you've asked that question, you got it turning, and I realized that my mom, when I was very young, she was the main breadwinner, and she would have these men come in and out of the house, and they were almost always unemployed, and so she was the one taking care of everyone. And I think that's probably formed a lot of my opinions on things. Like a woman can be head of the household. Like, you don't have to be the fairer sex and be taken care of. And I think that's where things started. And now I realize that it's even broader than that. You don't even have to have a gender identity, or, you know, like not the traditional ones anyway. And so thank you for bringing my mind to that. I appreciate it.
That's cool. I mean, that's cool that your mom sounds really strong.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well, we are now within 2 minutes of our deadline. So I think unless anyone has any last minute thoughts, I'm just going to say thank you all so much for being here. Thank you to everyone who's watching and listening. Thank you to Sean and everyone on the 1455 team. This has been fantastic. And I'm also really enjoying some of the other panels that I've been watching. So this is so cool. And maybe see you all next year.
Yeah. Thank you to fans who have come to watch us and, you know, be here and support us. Is awesome. And when at the beginning, Jude, you had mentioned like if we were able to or wanted to be contacted or not, like I'm at
Oh, yeah.
Poet on Twitter. Come say hi, send me a DM. I'm completely open to conversation. I think it's important that we share and converse and talk. So if anyone has any questions, feel free to get in touch, you know.
Absolutely.
Yep, same here. I'm at Lannie Stabile on Twitter. Reach out. Happy to talk to you. That's how I met all these people.
That's right. We're all Twitter contemporaries, which is amazing. But,
And
yeah.
the same at Sarah JFC, and how wonderful that we met in such a fantastic social media space.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And thank you, Jude, for, you know, setting the safe space for us here tonight to share. And you're a lovely, lovely host, of course.
We love Jude.
We do. Forever and always.
Aw,
Yeah.
I'm embarrassed now.
Well, we wouldn't be here if you hadn't done this. So it's awesome.
Well, I'll be seeing you all again soon anyway. So.